That night, Ashley cooked dinner for the hostel again. It was one of those rare occurrences where everybody was able to attend. Even James was there, though grudgingly. I wondered whether there was something in his contract that forced him to spend a requisite number of days with us at the hostel, or perhaps he just really liked Ashley's cooking. Regardless, despite the number of people, we sat in stark silence, lost in our own heads. The fact that items had been going missing around the hostel had made things tense among everyone. Not to mention, nobody wanted to look like a troublemaker around James, so calling anyone out or even pointing out there was a problem would essentially be snitching. I doubted anything would be done about it even if we mentioned it. James would probably be happy to punish someone who'd done wrong, but he wouldn't lift a finger to investigate for himself. Probably. No one knew or wanted to talk to each other. We were only there for the food. Finally, Jihyo cleared her throat. Ahem. So, I've been thinking. Angelo snorted and Jihyo glared at him. Angelo! Rude. Yes, you were saying? Well, what if we all went on a joint trip to the beach? I know things have been stressful around here, what with, homework and everything. She glanced nervously at James, who looked as if he was about to disagree, but... Oh my gosh, yes! We totally have to do this. I haven't been to the seaside in yonks, not since that soggy June with my friends. Sixth form. The whole hostel together, a recreational excursion. It'll be great.
I am not planning any excursion.
I'll do it. I'll plan everything. That sounded like a terrible idea. You'll help me, Danny, won't you? When are we gonna tell Peggy?
Why not? It sounds like a good enough idea.
If Danny was helping her, maybe she stood a chance.
James snorted. Consider the finances. You'd need travel, food, and room and board for all of us. With so many, it wouldn't come cheap.
We can get a group discount. And we're students. If you go as our chaperone, perhaps we can convince them it's a class trip.
And the hostel would be shut and empty during that time, costing me money.
It wasn't like this hostel took in a lot of straight gas. We permanent residents were usually the only ones here.
No security either, with everyone gone. Have to hire someone to look after the place, watch the water.
Now he was just making up excuses.
And arranging time off work for those in the program, who would then not be earning. Couldn't do it for less than £600 a head.
Each? For a couple of days at the beach? Even if everyone had separate hotel rooms, that sounded way too high for a minimum. Looking around the table, everyone else seemed to agree with me.
May 5th. It's my free weekend. Leave on the Friday, back on the Monday. It's the only time. So, if you each put down that amount by the deadline, we can go. Give me the cash by May 2nd.
Peggy clamped her mouth shut. An unspoken agreement sounded amongst the boarders. That was as good as we were going to get from him.
Right. Get to it then.
James is the worst. He stood, brushed himself off, and left the room. As soon as he was gone, Peggy shot her arms to the sky. Yes! We're going on a beach trip! I don't mind this at all.
Good luck getting all that money. Hey, if we just pile on a few more hours, it shouldn't be too hard, right? I'm here to explore England, not to work myself to the bone. Yeah. Finish your food before it gets cold, why don't you?
There are seconds if you want them. And so it was settled. We'd all be heading for the beach on May 5th, if we could cough up the dough. There was less than 2 weeks before James's deadline. Even if I got extra hours at my job, I wouldn't get to keep the whole wage. A share of everything I made went straight back to the hostel. And I knew better than to hope James would count that as my contribution. It would really suck if everyone else went on a trip without me. Beach trip, huh? Do we get to see some cute swimsuits? Oh boy. Well, The date is approaching rather rapidly. The night before the cash deadline, I pulled up my bank balance. As I read the number there, my heart dropped. A little over 400 pounds. Not enough for the trip. I was so close. If I'd only had more time. But I knew better than to expect James to cover the difference or let me pay him back later. So, was that it? Was I just not going? I collapsed into my chair, completely at a loss. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yo! Malia, are you in there?
Ah! I tried to close out of my bank account, but not before Mark glanced at the screen.
Ooh, that's rough. I don't suppose you've given James the money already?
I shook my head.
Too bad. So no trip for you, my friend.
I suppose not. I'll just stay here. It's fine. I'll figure out something else to do with my time. Mark shook his head.
Do you think James will trust you to stay here alone?
Oh shit! Ugh. I tugged at my hair. He's going to cancel the whole thing and it will be my fault. Mark grinned.
Tell you what, I'll fill in for you. I'll give you the rest of the money, eh?
What? I glanced up at Mark, and to my surprise, he drew a rolled-up wad of cash from his pocket. How did you... What?
This should cover what you need.
He flicked a few bills off the stash and held the rest of it out to me.
Here, no strings attached. Except for one, I suppose. Do not tell the others that I gave you this. Also, do not ask where this came from. I assure you it's clean.
Mark, I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Don't pay me back. I don't want it. It's yours already.
He smacked me lightly across the face with the money.
Take it. My arm is getting tired.
I took it, hand shaking slightly. But...
Quiet. Don't ask questions. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow.
He stuffed the remaining few bills back in his pocket and left the room. Mark? What? I stared at the bills in my hands. 20-pound notes, all of them. Added to the money I had already saved, it would be more than enough for the trip. Why did Mark have so much money? Why would he just give it to me? It wasn't like we were dating or anything. Well, at least this meant I would be able to go on the trip with everyone else, so yay? Maybe it would be better to just deliver the money to James and not think about it. Mark? Mark is like a ninja who's there when you need him for money and things. Does he come from like a rich family or something? As I was about to head to my room for the evening, Aussie caught my arm.
Malia, James told me to tell you you need to check the register in the lobby.
Check it? For what?
How am I supposed to know? You know how he is.
Unfortunately, I did. Frustrated, I dashed to the register by the check-in and opened the drawer. What exactly was wrong with it? But as I looked, I saw the problem. Something was jammed inside the drawer, stopping it from closing all the way. I worked at it for a little while, taking out bits and pieces and rearranging the drawers on the inside. Finally, I set it all back in and shut the drawer. Trust James to think of some stupid bit of maintenance that needed doing at the very last minute, and trust him to make us do it instead of him. Shaking my head, I climbed the stairs to my room. Well, thanks, James. I thought me and Aussie were finally connecting, but no. At last, it was time for our beach adventure. I stepped outside and to the side of the bus where Danny was talking with the bus driver.
Ah, Malia. Load your suitcase under the coach there, see?
He gestured to an open compartment near the back of the bus. I went and threw my suitcase in where it clattered against the metal edge.
Excuse me?
Aussie hissed at me and climbed into the luggage compartment, taking my suitcase and throwing it to the other side of the bus.
You can't just throw your stuff on top of mine! I have things that'll break in here.
Sorry, I guess.
Whatever. This ride up is going to be a total disaster, I just know it.
It seemed that everyone had managed to raise the funds for the trip, even Brendan. He, Aussie, and I were the last 3 out of the hostel, leaving James to lock up behind us. Luckily, the most recent drop-in guest left on Wednesday. If she'd wanted to extend her stay, James might have tried to cancel everything. The bus driver finished getting whatever he needed from Danny, and we all piled into the back of the bus. It was a rather nice bus, the kind college athletes use to get to away games. Air conditioning, a bathroom, nicely padded seats, and so on. The seats even had power sockets to recharge phones with. Thankfully, the bus was large enough that everyone could have a full 2 seats to themselves far away from the bathroom and any smells it might produce. As the bus pulled away from the hostel, Aussie slipped on a sleeping mask and Peggy ran to the front. Who wants to listen to some music?
Not me.
Great! She plugged in her phone. Almost instantly, a screeching punk song blasted through the bus speakers. The world is out to get you. You want to fly, but your life is full of cars and garbage.
Oh my god, what is this cacophony, Peggy?
Isn't it great? It really fills me with energy. Spread your wings into the sky. Brendan crossed to the front of the bus, unplugged Peggy's phone, then pulled the connector wire free and threw the wire out the window.
No.
He shuffled to the back and sat down again. Peggy looked as though she was going to cry, but everyone simply avoided her eyes. No one wanted to say it, but we were on Brendan's side this time. This bus ride was nothing compared to how much people traveled in the States. After all, it took 7 hours just to drive across the state of New York. I hadn't done it myself, but I knew people who drove for days to get down to Florida, and the drive to California didn't even bear thinking about. But here, people grumbled about a 3 or 4 hour drive as if their lives were ending. I tried to relax while listening to Danny complain about leg cramps and Aussie about her beauty sleep. Jihyo kept wanting to pull over so she could take pictures of the countryside. By the time we made it to the seaside town where we were staying, I wanted to strangle all of them, and I was pretty sure my sentiments were shared. We took our luggage off the bus and headed inside the hotel to unpack and de-stress. We had a few days here after all, we could afford to take our time. Ooh. The seaside hotel room was such a contrast to my old hostel bed, it felt like I was in some alien world. Everything was so clean and crisp, and that means a lot considering you clean hotels. And I didn't even have to clean it myself. Just to be sure, I checked the sheets, but they even smelled clean. Luxury. And that view! I stood for a few moments transfixed. Hey, Malia! Peggy dashed by my open hotel door, hollering at me. We're all going down to the beach if you want to join. See you there! She vanished down the hall. Might as well join her. The beach was located right outside the hotel. Somehow we had managed to get reservations at an incredibly nice property, with only a few steps down from the hotel to the actual sand. Nice. Maybe the 600 pounds actually was necessary for this trip after all. Or perhaps Danny and Peggy simply used all the money they knew they'd have available in the budget to spite James. Thinking about it, I'm sure that's what happened. Hey, everyone's got swimsuits. Whoops. Uh-oh, did I break everything? Hold on. Yeah, hold on, I broke my recording again. Let me just restart it quick. Okay, this should... Yeah, okay. It's fixed now. I just wanted to look at all your swimsuits was all I wanted to do. Gosh darn. Okay. This is what happened last time when my video stopped recording, so I'm like, no, wait, uh-oh, hold on. Okay. Caught it in the bud that time, at least. I scanned the beach for my friends and found them down by the waterside, standing in a straight line like school children. Oh, I like your bikini top, girl. Hello, what's going on here? Malia, you came! Now that you're here, you can go in the water first. Peggy shoved me towards the water. What? No, I'm not getting in first. It's probably cold as hell in there.
Technically, hell would be hot.
Shut up. Thanks, Angelo. I glanced at the row of us. Everyone was in their swimsuits, wearing hardly anything. Since it was still relatively early in the season, the water was definitely going to be cold, but at this rate we wouldn't get to swim at all. Just go for it. Who cares if it's cold? You'll get used to it. Okay, let's do rock, paper, scissors.
Really? Rock, paper, scissors?
Do you have a better idea?
Fine.
Alright, everyone find a partner and go around. The loser of the last two standing will go in first. I paired up with Mark and lost the very first round. In the end, it came down to Angelo versus Brendan.
You're going down, bud. Easy for you to say. Let's go.
The two readied their hands and I winked at Danny.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Go! Danny and I rushed forward and shoved the two in front of us. Yes!
What?
They fell into the water below as the rest of us laughed our heads off.
Cold! It's so cold! It's freezing! You bastards! You're getting in with us!
They pulled us in one by one. We shrieked and yelled, but in the end we all made it into the water. And I have to admit, it was rather nice to see so many fit-toned bodies glistening with water. The girls splashing each other, the guys wrestling. It just didn't get better than this. Take some pictures. Whoa, nighttime beach is pretty. We met that first night on the beach to light fireworks together. James said it would be a good bonding activity, but I wasn't so sure. I figured we'd end up fighting over it. When I found everyone else at the beach, however, people were snuggled up in blankets and sitting together like the best of friends. Peggy and Danny were sitting with their heads together, gesturing to the different fireworks that had been bought, evidently planning a show. Mark was teaching Ashley some philosophical conundrum. Her eyes were so wide I wasn't sure she was following him. Aussie and Brendan were in a corner doing whatever it is they did together. They hated most people so much I was surprised they got along well, but maybe I shouldn't be. Birds of a feather flock together, after all. Angelo and Jihyo were sitting near each other, neither talking or looking at each other. In fact, now that I was paying attention to them, they seemed kind of embarrassed. And James was there too, steadily working his way through a pile of beer cans. I had no interest in going anywhere near him. Who should I join? Well, let's do Peggy and Danny. I made my way over to them. Hey guys, how are the fireworks going? Malia! Good to see you, but stand back. We want this to be a surprise. Okay, sure. How long did it take you two to plan the trip? Peggy glanced at Danny, trying to figure it out. Not very long. I came up with most of the ideas, and then Danny did whatever he did to figure out the cost. He somehow made it cost exactly as much as we'd all raised to come on this trip. She beamed at Danny, and he gave me a look. Something told me my earlier hypothesis for how he spent the money was right. Nice. Well, thanks for going to all this trouble for all of us.
No problem. I felt we needed something to commemorate that we all came together. We've been living together for months now, and once summer rolls around, we won't see each other. That's just how it is. We might as well do something as a unit and live it up while we can.
Peggy bent over a firework, a lit wand in her hand. There they go! Ooh, pretty. Peggy darted away from the fireworks. As the sparks illuminated the first firework sting, I gasped. The entire bunch were arranged in a giant spiral, an elaborate patchwork of explosives. We sat and watched the fireworks as they went off, shouting when we saw something we liked and cracking jokes. It was funny, but for the first time since meeting the entire group, I felt a sense of belonging, togetherness. We felt like a family. When the last firework finally died in the night sky, I blinked tears from my eyes. With the end of this trip came the realization I was trying hard to avoid. My time was growing short. This was the last leg of my trip to England. The last 2 months I could spend with these people. I had to make them count. Alright. Oh, she's building a sandcastle! That is so cute. We girls, except for Aussie, got together to play 2-on-2 beach volleyball. Peggy was on a volleyball team back at uni, of course, but Ashley was also surprisingly competitive. Jihyo and I were mostly there just to round out the numbers, but it was still fun. For a while. As we played, a group of several college-age boys gathered around us to watch. Their eyes were roving up and down our bodies, especially when we had the ball. Peggy didn't notice at all, of course. She was probably used to guys checking out the team at games. Ashley wasn't bothered either. Considering her work uniform, she probably didn't mind being ogled. But Jihyo and I shifted uncomfortably, too distracted to be able to give the game proper attention. As the game crept on, the boys grew rowdier, gradually starting to heckle us. Finally, Jihyo, crossing her arms over her chest, approached me.
I think I'm going to quit. I hate this. It's really freaking me out.
Maybe... I glanced at the boys who were now on all edges of the court. We'd have to walk past them to get out of their presence. Would they wolf whistle or worse, make a grab for one of us? Sure, they probably wouldn't, but... Oh, good. Men. At that moment, Danny and Angelo appeared at the edge of the court, arms crossed. Angelo was livid, but Danny was smiling his usual easygoing smile.
Having trouble, ladies?
Jihyo nodded, tears in her eyes. Angelo walked up to her and put an arm around her shoulders, eyeing the guys around us as if daring them to make a move on her. He looked about ready to punch their lights out. That's my boy.
Ready?
Danny took my hand in his. Together, the four of us walked past the group of boys. Thank you!
Hey, sweetheart, can I ask?
A guy stepped out and tapped my shoulder, a light smile on his face, but before I could even respond... Whoa! Danny was there, and the boy's arm was twisted at an odd angle, and he was screaming.
Is there a reason you're laying a hand on my woman?
No, sorry, I wasn't thinking of doing anything.
That's what I thought.
Danny released the guy's arm and took my hand, pulling me towards the hotel. After that display, the rest of the group gave us a wide berth. I stared at him in alarm. He looked pissed, but he avoided my gaze until we were out of sight of the remaining guys. Then he dropped my hand, his back turned to me.
Danny, what was that out there?
He ran a hand through his hair and took a few deep breaths. There's that, I'm kinda crazy smile. Then he turned towards me, a smile yet again on his face.
I lost my temper. Sorry about that.
Chills ran down my spine. Danny scanned my face and nodded.
Well then, I'll get out of your way for now. I'm sure you're tired. Why don't you go rest?
He gestured vaguely at somewhere, then headed inside the hotel without another word. I watched him go, completely confused. He'd always been so nice, so careful, so controlled. I knew about his past, but I had never been able to connect the Danny I knew with whatever he'd been before. Was it really safe to be around him? There had been no warning. One minute he was smiling, the next he was violent, and then it was like nothing was wrong. But Danny had never been anything but nice to me. I couldn't tell whether I was being smart or stupid. I couldn't tell whether this was the right thing to do. I took a deep breath and went into the hotel. Danny? Danny, please open up. I know you're probably in there. I want to talk to you. Whoa, hello. The door flung open so quickly that I jumped and Danny appeared wearing only a towel around his waist, hair wet. Cold shower? He leaned on the frame and gave me a smile, a different smile from his usual one.
So you came.
He grabbed my wrist and pulled me into the hotel room, shutting and locking the door behind him. Danny, what are you doing? I backed away, but he matched me step for step. I just came to make sure you were okay, so you don't have to be mad. Whoa, hello. Let's get a look at that. Alright, our first picture, nice. My back hit the wall. There was nowhere else for me to go. Danny stood just in front of me, looking down at me. I could feel myself shaking. Where should I? What should I? He placed a hand next to my head and leaned down, eyes glinting. Danny? And then he kissed me, rough and intense. My response was pure instinct. I melted against him, my knees going weak, my hands on his shoulders for support, pulling him against me. His hand slid down my sides, and I became aware of the fact that all I was wearing was my swimsuit. Alright, I think this is the time. His hand traced the strings holding the back of my bikini together. Wait! Wait, stop! Instantly, Danny pulled back, watching me with the same strange expression on his face. I was panting, fluorescent, unsure of what to do. I'm here to... I came to talk.
Right. Sorry. Lost my cool.
He took wide steps back from me until he was all the way on the other end of the room, arms raised.
Sorry, I didn't mean...
No, it's okay. I liked it. I mean... I blushed and looked away, and he ran a hand through his hair.
It's better if I tell you quickly now so you can make up your mind. You might have been able to piece it together by now, but... You see... How should I say this? I'm a very jealous man. I am a very possessive man. I know that that's not the most attractive quality. I don't want to control your actions or anything. I don't want to blackmail you or manipulate you or guilt trip you for looking at other men or any of that kind of thing. But I don't want to see anyone else touch you. I don't want to think about anyone else touching you. I don't like anyone else even looking at you. I know it's me. It's in my head, and not everyone feels this way about their lovers. Apparently, some people can just get over it by dealing with their insecurities, but for me, that hasn't worked. It isn't because I'm insecure. It's just there. That is how I am. And that's why I haven't dated in the past few years. The way you reacted when I told you of my past, I began to hope. Again, I don't want to change anything about the way you behave. It is not my place to tell you what to do. But I have to tell you this. Those men who were watching you, their faces are etched into my mind. And if I ever have the misfortune of running into them again, I will beat their faces in. That one who laid his hands on you.
Danny calmly clasped his hands together.
He was lucky I didn't lose it, but my priority was getting you to safety.
His voice is so quiet, I can hear my own heart beating.
As you can see, that kind of thing has certain effects on me, and well, it makes me want to ensure that you are mine in more physical ways. I apologize for throwing that on you all of a sudden. You weren't warned, so you couldn't have expected it. Ahem.
He cleared his throat and looked at me again. His eyes were still dark. He was no longer smiling.
So, it is up to you whether you want to continue to pursue our relationship now that you know. Please, if it makes you uncomfortable, leave. I know jealousy can get kind of sketchy in relationships, and if you ever feel I am behaving inappropriately, you can leave, and I will treat you as a friend or stranger accordingly. However, if you are still good with this, with me, all of my cards are on the proverbial table.
He looked at me and I stared back in silence. Man, you really laid it all out there, huh?
So, do we have a relationship or don't we?
Damn. Alright. Well, you know, fair is fair. I mean, he at least admitted to all of that and gave her an out. We are on your route, though, so we will accept you for that, I guess. Eek. I blushed. I think I'm okay with this, Danny. I trust you. I know you're not going to hurt me. So I'll just take you as you come. We'll see where this goes, right? Danny stared at me in silence for a few seconds. Then he stood and crossed to me. He grabbed me once again and pulled me into a kiss. Things were getting heated, very quickly heated. He lifted me up and carried me over to the bed.
Malia, are you sure you're okay with this?
Yes, I am definitely okay with this. Please. He kissed me again, and there was no more talking between us that night. Did I not have to read about fun times? Oh my goodness!